Hi everyone, Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. Please, if you are here in the chat already, please say hello and let me know if you can hear me okay. My levels look good on this side, but I can't really tell until you guys tell me it looks good or not. I'm kind of flying blind and by myself tonight, but I am super excited that I have the chance to paint with you guys. So if you could just hop in the chat, say howdy, let me know if you can hear me or not. I guess you wouldn't say anything if you couldn't hear me. And give me a thumbs up too if you like these live streams. It really helps me decide whether I want to do more than once a week. And it's been a couple weeks, so I'm so excited. Oh my gosh, hi Smoky Fireside Creations. Hi Nikki B. Hi Vanessa. Hi Cinnamon the Art Sherpa. Oh my goodness, you guys are so chatty. Hi Beth. Hi Sam. Oh my goodness. Robert, hi. We have Melissa. Hi, Leah. Hi, Shelly. Shelly's one of our moderators tonight. Thank you very much for that. Oh my goodness, we have Beth and Emily R. Crazy Turtle. And Kathy, hello. Babette, Arcia, hope I said that right. Linda Parsons, hi. Hi, Stacy, JAC Stacy. Victoria, oh my goodness, wow, what a great group of folks we have here today. So thank you so much. I'll have you guys chit chat if you want. Excuse the sound of my chair. And in just another minute, we're going to get started in the tutorial. I don't want to jump in too early because I know some people are coming at 8:30 on the dot, so I don't want them to miss out. If you're wondering what to gather, I have a materials list in the video description, and we got watercolor paints, and if all you want to do is watercolor, that is perfectly fine. But we're also going to add some colored pencils, a little bit of stamping, and all you need is like maybe a text stamp, like, just words, or, a dot pattern, something that's just very generic. And I'm also using a little mulberry paper. You could use like a washi paper or something like that if you want. You don't have to. And I also have this little honeycomb stencil I'm going to be using with these. These are kind of fun. I just picked these up at the bookstore. They're watercolor gel crayons. So I thought I'd give them a whirl. If you have gelatos or Tim Holtz Distress crayons or any sort of gel crayons, or you can even use a cosmetic sponge in your watercolors for stenciling. But this is what I'm going to play with tonight. And I think it's going to be a good time. Oh my goodness, Kay Barnes is in the house. We have Catherine, Michelle, Melissa, Heba, Michelle. Oh my gosh, so many people. Oh my gosh, don't be shy. Chit chat with your friends, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Okay, my computer says 8:30, so we're going to get rolling on the tutorial, and we're going to start by sketching together. And I do have a link to the reference photo that I'm using in the video description if you want to check that out. And I am just going to start off by drawing an iris. And if you've never drawn an iris before, the thing I want to tell you is drawing a flower is no more difficult than drawing anything else, okay? So we're going to start with an oval. Hopefully that's dark enough for you to see. I don't want to make it too dark because this is my watercolor paper. And then we're going to kind of make some floppy, kind of like dog ears off the side, okay? We got one floppy dog ear. And we got another floppy dog ear over here. Here we go. And then we've got to give this flower a place to kind of sit. So we're going to make the bud just like that. And then we're going to make the stem off of that. And I know it doesn't look like a flower yet, but that's all right. We've kind of assigned a place on our paper for that iris. And before I get too wrapped up in the detail there, I'm actually going to put a stem up the paper just like that. And I think I want to put another little iris friend up here, and we're just going to start with, I think I'm going to start with kind of like a rounded V, okay, because we're going to have a little iris bud in here. And then we're going to have this guy hasn't really opened up yet. It's a shy little iris, and it's just kind of starting to open up and just kind of leaning over to the edge. I guess it's tired, so it's having a little nap. So we're just gonna, I tell little stories about my thing. You guys usually don't see me draw the stuff. I usually leave a pattern, but so now you get to see how I talk to my paintings, which you probably think I'm a crazy person now. And I think we'll put another little bud over here. And the buds, they're just kind of like a rounded diamond or oval shape or almond shape. Okay. All right. Now this is kind of our focal point iris, so we're going to spend a little time sketching this in. And what I'm going to do here is get the front petal. I'm going to kind of put a little vein up the center. I don't typically put too much detail in on my watercolor sketches because I want to do a lot of that work with a paint, but I think it's really important to have that nice foundation in there so that we have something to rely on as we paint. Okay? And it's perfectly fine if you want to search online or if you want to trace a reference photo or, find an illustration so you can get to the painting. If drawing makes you uncomfortable, go for it. It's about having fun in painting. And now I'm just making this kind of side petal there. Look at that. It's just a curvy line. It's kind of like the letter S or maybe like a B or something, but curvy. We're going to do the same thing over here. As long as you break down your drawings into, the basic shapes, it becomes much easier. Now over here, I want to refine this edge and give it a little bit of a ruffle here and bring that right up and bring the other half of the flower up too. Now I wanted that center part in there because I wanted a place to add the beard on our iris. I'm just going to sketch that in just like that. Okay, and we're going to do a very similar thing over here. We'll have a turn on this one. So there, just made a little loop. So you can kind of see the underside of the flower turns up, and I'm going to pull that center vein in, and I'm going to put the beard on my iris. And I think I want to make that a little bit lower over there. There, just like that. And then I'm just going to stand up and look at my drawing from a distance. This one seems a little bit large to me, so I'm just gently going to erase. Now I recommend that you actually sketch on another piece of paper and then transfer it, especially if you're kind of new to drawing. And the reason I recommend that is so that you don't damage your watercolor paper, but also in case you don't love your painting or you want to try it again, you already have the hard drawing part done. So makes it a little more fun. There we go. I just wanted to shorten that up a little bit. Okay. So now we are going to wet our paper, and I just want to show you here. I didn't tape this down, and I just kind of wet the paper with a raw, like a kind of a rough edge because I like the look of that. If you prefer a smooth border on your painting, you can tape all four sides down with masking tape to your painting board. That's absolutely fine. It's just a matter of personal preference. Taping it down on all four sides will also make it a little bit less likely to warp, but again, that's completely up to you. I usually am kind of lazy and I like to get right to the painting as quickly as possible. So I'm going to wet the entire paper, except just a little bit at the edge so I have that nice raw edge. And I'm using a nice thirsty fat brush here. And I wanted to let you know that this video is brought to you by jerrysartorama.com. They're nice enough to sponsor all of my live events, which is really great. These brushes are from them. This is the Mimic Squirrel, so it's completely synthetic, completely animal friendly, and it's meant to kind of mimic the squirrel brushes that hold tons and tons of water. So it's a great alternative if you want a cruelty-free brush and way less expensive than natural hair too. I'm going to grab some ultramarine blue, and if you don't have ultramarine blue, you could use cobalt. I'm going to add that right up here at the top of my paper and just let it mix and mingle. You can add a little bit in here. Ultramarine blue is great because it's really easy to lift if you ever decide you want to pick it up somewhere. And now I'm going to grab some sap green and just add it here and there. I'm going to try to avoid the yellow and purple portions of the flower with my background for the most part. Boy, you guys, I have the chat open on a separate window and I'm peeking in there and you guys are just awesome. You guys are all being so friendly. Oh my goodness. Oh, that's so funny. Somebody said that my videos help them sleep at night. I don't think that's creepy at all. You know what? That's so funny because I was very upset a couple weeks ago. My dog passed away. And there's another YouTuber and her name is Journal Artista. And she had this lovely, she had a Ustream, but she puts them on YouTube. And I was very upset. I was very like, oh, and I just listened to her, talk about watercolor crayons for like 2 hours, like falling asleep, just dozing off. And it was very soothing. So I totally understand that. Okay, I want to add some yellow. I think I want to do a little yellow ochre in here. And again, yellow ochres are really easy to lift color. So it's a wonderful sweetening color. I feel like it just makes things look prettier. and it's very flattering to most paintings, and then it's easy to lift up if you accidentally get it somewhere you don't want it. So going in with the yellow ochre. I'm just going to peek up every once in a while. I'll do a Q&A at the end, so if you guys are still here and you have any questions, I will come in at the end and try to answer them. And I think I want a little burnt sienna down here at the bottom, just to warm it up a little bit and ground the colors. Burnt sienna is also a very liftable color. So burnt sienna, sap green, ultramarine blue, yellow ochre, they're all what you call sedimentary colors, meaning they kind of, rather than staining the paper and sinking in, they kind of float around the top. And that's why they're so forgiving and easy to lift up. All right, now I just want to make sure I don't have any completely white spots on my paper that's going to show. So what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to dry my brush off. And I'm going to go in and I'm going to drink up the puddles. So I'm just going to set my dry brush in the puddles and pick some of that up. And if I see a space that should have a little bit of color that doesn't, I'm just going to drag it around in there. I'll just relocate it. All right. I find this is a little bit easier to do than trying to like blot with a paper towel, because sometimes when you blot with a paper towel, it wants to take too much up or leave a texture. I got a hair in there. I have my hair in a long braid today, but apparently a strand got away. All right, that looks pretty good. I think while we're waiting for this to dry, I'm gonna put the heat gun on. It's not too loud, and then I'll go through. If anybody has any questions or anything, just type them in all caps, and I'll try to catch them. Oh, and if you do have any places that are really where you don't want them inside the flower, it's totally fine to blot. Because you're in that case trying to remove a hard edge. So if you do find something like that, I don't think any of these colors are going to be really offensive in the painting. So I'll leave that up to you. But if you leave puddles and you don't pick them up, you're going to have some bloom, and that might not be what you want. I mean, it's not going to bother me if I have it, but I'm going to try to avoid it a bit. So I'm going to dry, and I'm going to look at the chat, see what you guys are all partying about. You guys know how to party. This is what we do on a Friday night, isn't it? Okay, let's see. Oh, Donna's in the house. Hey, Donna. Hi, Zeneca. Hey, Rich Bowden. He is like a fountain of knowledge. He's a scientist, and he's always telling me why my paints do what they're doing. Gotta love Rich there. Giving some advice on some student grade paints. Awesome. Hi, Billy. Yes, these are the Turner paints. They're $29 at Jerry's Artorama, our fabulous sponsor. And Maricha's in the house, the data junking girl. She's one of my moderators, keeping everyone in line. Oh, Jessica's wondering what inspired me to start drawing. Well, I always have loved drawing, and my parents noticed that about me at a very young age. And I had a neighbor who was an artist, and she gave me lessons. So I started when I was 5 and worked with her until I was about 13. How do you use yellow ochres and not make mud? I always get mud with it. Well, yellow ochre is a earth tone. It's an iron-based color, and it is a duller color because it sits on top of the paper. It doesn't let the light shine through so much. It's a little more opaque. So just try to use it on its own, and just kind of let it mix and mingle on its own rather than trying to mix it up. That will help it not get too muddy for you. Arty party, yay! That's right. Hi, Jessica. Melissa says, what are they called? Oh, I think, the Turner paints? These are the Turner watercolors. From Jerry's Artorama. They have a starter kit of 18 colors for $29. It's a great value. I've been using these for months, like many times a week. And I mean, I squeezed out the rest of the pans in here. And I mean, I still can do probably 40 paintings with what I have left. Now, if you're wondering if your paper is dry, just put your hand on it. If it feels warm, you're good. If it feels cool, then it's still a little damp. All right, we're going to get right into painting the flowers. I'm going to switch to hi Alina, I'm going to switch to a smaller brush. And what I'm going to do is start by wetting one of the petals. I think I'll start with this purple one down here. And I'm not going to worry about any stray pencil marks I might have. That's not even really a concern, but you know, you can, to a point, kind of go through and erase it after it's done. It might not all come off. I really don't worry about it. I actually like to see the pencil marks because it lets me kind of see the intent of the artist, which I really like. So I'm going to grab a little bit of magenta or whatever cool red that you like, and I'm going to throw a little bit of that in here. Look at that color go. It's ready to party. He knows how to party on a Friday night. And let's grab a little bit, well, let's make our purple because we've got this beautiful kind of magenta red. Why don't we grab a little of the ultramarine blue because we used it already, remember? So it's good to use those colors again, right? We get better mixes when we keep using our colors over and over again. And I'm going to add some of this to the edges and just let it mix. There we go. I love to see what the paints do on their own. Keep in mind that your watercolor is going to dry a little bit lighter than what you started off on. So it's a good idea to have them a little bit darker when you're putting them in. There we go. Just heard one of my kids come home from their Friday night fun. And I think I'm going to put some veins on this flower, and it's just really easy to get a nice fine line when I use a credit card scraper, and I always have one handy. So what I'm going to do is put my lines, look at that, in the direction that the petal is curving. Okay, so it's following just how the veins would go. And this is scribing the paper and leaving the finest of line, but it's still nice and dark and you can see it. So I really love that technique. Now we're going to hop over here and do the same thing in this area. Hope everyone has some fun weekend plans. I don't know what we're doing this weekend. It's supposed to be fairly nice out, so hopefully something outside. You know, and with some more of that magenta color. Now, I want to talk about artistic license. Now, the reference photo that I'm working from, I do have linked up. It's from an artist over at Paint My Photo. Her name is Deborah. And the colors in that iris are a little bit more muted and a little more earthy, but I prefer to have a brighter color palette. So that's what I'm doing. You can always change up the colors to make them more relevant to what you like. Mix a little more purple here. And then this turned under area is going to be darker, but I can't really go in there and darken that until it's dried. So I'm just going to get my colors in here, and then I'm going to scrape back in with a scraper and kind of go from the edge to the center. And I'm starting on the edge of that little turn that I had just put in there, that I had sketched in. All right, so I think I can do the center yellow petal without bothering anything. Oh, I'm going to clean my brush a little bit better though, because I got some purple residue. I'm going to go ahead and blot that off so it doesn't do anything to the luminosity of my paint. All right, so we'll wet this petal again. And it's when we get to the end of this painting and we add some accents with colored pencils, that's really nice because colored pencils tend to be a semi-transparent medium, and it looks really nice, and it's a great way to pull out some detail if you felt like your painting got lost. So I hope some of you guys are brave and you give that a try. How many of you guys, and I'll try to see, how many of you guys are painting along? And how many of you guys prefer to paint later after you've watched it? I'm curious. Let me know in the chat. I'm going to peek over there in a minute and see what you guys have to say. And I think I'm going to add a little bit of this new gamboge to the color too. It's a nice rich color. You could use the yellow ochre again if you want to. I just wanted something a little bit sparkier here. And I'm going to drag the scraper through just a little bit. It's going to be real subtle on the yellow. And I want to add a little bit of green in there, but I'm afraid that I might have too much pigment, but I want it kind of soft. So what I think I'm going to do, dry off my brush. I'm going to go in there, not fast enough to paint along. Oh, that's funny, Star Shine Soldier said. not fast enough to paint along. It is kind of tough. I know where I'm going, so it's easy. But yeah, I'm always quicker the second time I paint something too. So I'm just gonna paint in some sap green. My brush is pretty dry. I've just picked it up straight from the cake, so it's not a ton of paint. I'm just gonna drag it through there, and it'll feather out a little bit, but it'll give me that effect that I want. And now, oh, Sammy's wondering, if I use a child grade watercolor, will it look all right? You know what? I think it will look fine. The big difference that I think is that the paints don't have as much pigment, so they're probably gonna it'll just be a little harder to get the color out. But what I recommend is you just take like any, look at this. This is just like an old bath body spray bottle. I washed it out and I put water in it. Spray your palette before you work if you're using a children's grade watercolor, and let it sit for about 5 minutes. And then when you're ready to start painting, your paints will be soft and ready to jump up there. Now, the paint's probably going to fade a little bit quicker than an artist grade watercolor, but for the pure joy of painting, go for it. It's not going to hurt a darn thing. And if you discover that you really love it, first of all, you're going to be less inhibited because you didn't spend $100 on paints. If you decide you love it afterwards, then you can invest in some nicer paints. It can be very intimidating, though, to have really good paints and worry about wasting them. All right, so now I've wet my stem and some of the like kind of hip areas of the flower. I'm going to go in with some yellow ochre. I'm sorry, sap green, not yellow ochre. I'll probably add some yellow ochre in a minute. Pull some of that color up. And actually, I think I want to add some of the, I think it's permanent, yeah, permanent yellow. You could use like a cadmium yellow. Whatever yellow you used as your cooler yellow there. And it just kind of brightens it up. Somebody's asking about Derwent paints. I just have to wrap my head around it. I have a lot of Derwent pencils. I don't think I have any of their paints. But I love all their pencils. They make some really wonderful watercolor pencils and ink pencils and water-soluble graphite pencils. All right, and now I'm going to do a little yellow ochre into the top portions of these unopened buds. And this is going to kind of replicate the papery, onion skinny. They have this kind of like, it just looks like a onion skin type sheath kind of on them, and it's kind of like a yellow ochre color. Put some of that in there, let it flow, let it mix. I don't want any really hard lines right here, and I want some down here too. So many nice things in the chat. I really appreciate that. How many people are here? I can't really see I'm looking at my my output screen. I can't see how many people are in the chat. Would somebody pop in and let me know how many people are watching right now? I'm so curious. All right, do a little yellow here in the center of this top flower. And again, feel free to pull up the reference photo if you want to see exactly what I'm looking at. Hi, Callie. Callie Garrett says hello. All right, so now, since I have these areas wet, I'm actually going to work in with a credit card scraper a little bit. There are kind of like folds in that onion skinny texture I was telling you about, and I'm just going to scrape them in. So I've got this one kind of arcing, you know, to the left. And then I've got another one kind of arcing out to the right. And this is actually going to give some physical texture to it because you are kind of, wow, holy moly, over 230 people. You guys are awesome. Jeez, I'm going to do these live impromptus more often. You guys are in the house. That's awesome. Aw. Okay, and I'm going to do the same thing over here. Scrape in like this. Actually, this little bit of skin should be kind of going over everything there. And then up there, you just kind of get these little arches kind of overlapping each other. And now while that's still wet, I'm going to grab a little bit of the purple that we mixed. And I'm just going to add that to the top of this flower and just let it kind of flow. And if you have any rough edges, you can go ahead and smooth them out now. Just, you know, sometimes you make things a little bit bigger so that you can smooth things out. That's fine. Oh, oh, you guys, I keep getting distracted by your awesomeness in the chat. And up here, I'm going to do a little bit of the purple along the right side of the tip. And then I'm going to grab a little of that magenta and add it right next to it and let them kind of mingle together. Just for a little bit of richness of color. We'll just add a little touch of that in there too. All right, now let's see. Our purple is dry enough to add. I think I'm going to hit that with the heat gun just for a second so that I can go in with my other colors. The reason I'm going to do that rather than just kind of try to force those colors in is that if I put yellow on the beard and the purple is still wet, yellow and purple are opposites on the color wheel, so they're going to make mud, and I don't want that to happen. I'm just going to blast this real quick here. We'll let that just dry on its own. Oh yeah, I'm not a big fan of masking fluid. You guys are all talking about that. I only use it when I absolutely have to. I just don't like the planning involved in it. It does stink. Kelly is wondering if I've used I can't say it, Inktense blocks for a painting like this. You totally can. You totally can. You can wet your brush and lift up the paint just like you are here, or you could scribble it out on a palette and use it that way. It's either way. I don't find them to be as transparent as watercolors, but I don't think you would have any trouble with that. And Nikki B, tip for watercolor that's gone hard in the tube, all you need to do is just cut the tube off and plop it right in your palette. I've done it so many times. It works. The paint's still just fine and dandy. All right, so I'm grabbing some yellow, and I am using the tip of my brush at the edge of the beard and just tapping it in. So I have a nice spiky top. And the same thing over here. I wouldn't have it too watery because you want that color pretty intense. And then I'm going to go in with my darker yellow, which is the permanent gamboge. And I might even, you know what, I'm going to put a little touch of burnt sienna in that because I feel like I want it to be a little more contrasty. And I'm just going to flick up some of that. And since my paint's not too wet, it is going to keep a little bit of the brush stroke. And you know, if that's too dark for you, you don't have to do that. You could even add in a little bit more yellow to that to break up the brown if you want to. I kind of like it though. And that lets me extend and reshape this edge. It got a little bit chopped off there. All right, and then I'm going to move into these yellow flowers. I'm just going to, you know, be careful of those beards. I'll start over here. I have a little more room. Wetting the petal again. Be careful not to wet over the yellow petal there because if you do, you're going to end up with a kind of an odd edge. So instead of that, what I'm going to do is I'll take my darker yellow and I'm going to grab a little bit of that burnt sienna. So it's a little bit darker. Chris wonders, do you sell your paintings? I rent a little shop. Oh, look at that. When you get a bead of water on your brush, and I say this probably every time I do a stream, try to blot that because if that flows down and plops on your paper, it's gonna be unkind to your painting. So try to nab that in the bud if you can. So I'm adding that dark color right along that yellow front petal just to give it kind of like a shadow, like it pushes it back. A little trick there. And then I'm going to go in with just my brighter, lighter yellow, which is permanent yellow in the Turner palette. You can use cadmium yellow. I mean, you could even use lemon. It just depends on what you prefer for a yellow, honestly. I prefer cad yellow light to lemon. I feel like it's a little bit more light fast and a little bit more vivid. You don't need to use as much of it. Sometimes it's more expensive, but you know, it goes a lot further. I think that's pretty good. I'm just gonna let that dry like that and add more to it later if I need to. I will though grab my credit card scraper and add some veining in it. I don't know how much will show up, but that'll be something. And we're gonna do the exact same thing on this side. Oh, Rose Ryan has some mimic brushes. I hope you use them. They're so much fun. I'm not sure what I like better, the Kolinsky or the squirrel. This Kolinsky has more snap, but the squirrel seems to hold more water, so I guess it just depends on what I feel like painting at that specific time. So again, the permanent yellow and a touch of the burnt sienna to darken it, and that's what I'm going to trace the edge of this petal with. Excuse me for the throat clear. And just kind of refining that shape, letting it blend out, and I'm going to grab the brighter lighter yellow for the other side. And yeah, just that yellow. And fill in and let it mix on its own. You'll get a much more spontaneous, looser, more vibrant color that way. I get so many people asking me how to loosen up their paintings, and a lot of it is just kind of not fussing with it, just putting it down and letting it do its thing. I also wanted to thank everybody for their condolences over the past couple of weeks. It's really meant a lot to me, and they say shared joy is double joy and shared sorrow is half a sorrow, and that is so true. And I don't know if you guys realize how much y'all mean to me, but it was really touching to read all of that. All right, enough being sappy. Here we're gonna wet this petal here, and this petal in the front is going to be one of our purple ones. We'll go in with our magenta first, or crimson, whatever cool purple you're using. Ooh, I love it. Magenta. Magenta is single and ready to mingle. Look at her go. I love a paint that just flows. I'm getting some expressive lines here. I think the green's still a little damp, but I'm not going to worry about it. And now I'm going to mix up a little bit more of that purple with my magenta and blue. Thank you, Linda, for your compliment on my painting videos. Appreciate that. All right, we'll add that. Let's add that kind of on the edge. On the edge up here, let it flow. And grab your scraper and just pull in some veining. Thank you, Rhonda. You guys are so nice. I can't see every comment because I have to keep looking at my painting. Otherwise, we're going to have a really scary looking iris here. But do you like Bailey J? You know, I do. I subscribe to her. Her stuff's a little bit younger than, you know, I know her audience is a little bit younger. But yeah, I think she's real fun. I think she's a tremendous talent. And yeah, she really has a knack for YouTube, definitely. I am going to wet this petal in behind, and this is also going to be purple up here. So I'm just being really careful. I'm just going around that yellow area. You don't have to go right up to it. You can always go right up to it when you have color on your brush so you can see where you're really at, because sometimes it's hard to tell. And this time, maybe I'll add the darker in first because I want a little bit more shadow on that one. I just love to see the paint flow. It never gets old. Been painting for, I'm not going to tell you how many years because I told you when I started painting, but it's been a while, and it never gets old. I love seeing it. There's so many talented YouTubers out there. Like my friend Cinnamon, the art Sherpa's hanging out, and Maricha, the data junking girl, who, like, you know, basically is a babysitter, and she helps all of us when we have problems with our YouTube channel. She's the big, one of the big mama bears at the Creative Arts Collaboration. She just, you know, why is our channel not working? And she knows everything. I'm a little jealous. Okay, so now we're going to work on the little buds in here and give them a little bit more love. How many years have I been doing paintings? I've been doing paintings a lot of years, Chris. I don't even know. It's too late to do math. Okay, I'm going to grab a little bit of, I'm going to go with a little bit of this kind of purpley pinky mix. And I'm going to grab a little burnt sienna. So basically, I want kind of a lively brown. And I'm just going to tap off my brush on my paper towel, and I want to get some detail in this onion skin area. That's a little dark, but I'm not fretting about that. because I can soften that up. I'm just going to get a little bit in just to begin. Now you're going to notice what's going to happen when I put this on top of areas that I've scribed with my credit card. It is going to, it's going to sink into the paper, because really, remember what I said, what we were doing to the paper? We're actually damaging it, okay? And as the paint sinks into those areas that we've damaged, it gives you that cool texture and those nice sharp lines. So now what I'm doing is just kind of going in with a wet brush and spreading it and letting the color float a little bit and dragging it around so I can get that kind of crispy onion skinny texture. Down here I want to do something too. I'm going to go with a little burnt sienna. And just kind of drag it down, sketch it. And this time I'm just going to sketch in some of the onion skin details because I want it a little different than I did all my veins here with the credit card scraper. So I want this to be a little different. And I'm just kind of sketching them in and out. I got the bead of water. Got to watch out for that. And I like to use colors. I keep liking to go back and using colors I've already used. So I will go back in with my, I need another good towel, with my purpley color and pinky color that I used. Add some of that in there. Because you got to figure, I mean, these transparent layers here, like that are around the iris, a lot of times you're looking through that kind of onion skin layer and it's showing you the petals underneath. So it makes sense that we have the colors in there that we've been using. And I think I'm going to grab some sap green and kind of punch up some of the colors that I have happening. And don't worry if your painting is not progressing the way you want. We're doing mixed media, and I'm going to show you some techniques that are really going to help you kind of save paintings. Because sometimes you'll do like a watercolor and you're like, yeah, geez, I don't know what's wrong with this. It just doesn't have the oomph and the impact that I want. And sometimes all it is, you know, you grab a colored pencil and or a pastel or, you know, some stamps, and you can just add that interest and texture, and whatever it is that's missing, you can kind of go in and mess with it. And I got to tell you, sometimes the best thing to do is to leave your painting out on your easel or on your desk overnight, or even for a couple days, and come back and look at it and see what it needs. Your hindsight is 20/20. You know, you're going to go back and you're going to see what it really needs. And since we're going to do a lot more with other media on here, I'm actually going to start, I'm going to spatter some color, and then we're going to do a little stenciling. So you know what, I think I'll wait to spatter because then I'll have to dry it. I don't want to dry it. Let's get right into some stenciling. This is a little, oh, let's see, is that dry up there? That's a little wet. I'm going to start down here. This is just like a little flexible stencil I picked up at Michael's. You can use anything. Oh, somebody just asked when the pastel tutorials are going to be starting. Honestly, I meant to start them this week. I had some unforeseen things going on that I couldn't get them done yet, but I do have one planned for next week. It'll be a beginner, and we'll be doing onions. Onions. It's going to be fun. So now what I'm going to do is take these, like these little, they're these gel crayons, and I got these at the bookstore, but I've seen them, I actually saw these at Menninger's in Denver, so they've got to be something that a lot of places have, but I wanted to show you this because look how much stuff is in here. This is like crazy. Look at that. It's like almost 3 inches of pastel of a watercolor crayon, and they're sparkly, and I think they're very similar to the Michael's Recollections ones. So just want to show you that. Let me show you the packaging. This was at Bull Moose, and I think it was $10, and you've got 12 crayons. They're just called Sparkle Watercolor Gel Crayons. And I'm just going to go ahead and sketch over my stencil. Use a couple colors. This is the sparkly purple, and I think I'll do a little bright purple. Someone's asking for beginner drawing tips, and you like animals and flowers. I recommend going to Paint My Photo and seeing what they have, and then trying to sketch some of those. And if you're having a hard time logging on, I just sent a message to the owner that some people are having some trouble logging on, and I think he's answered me. I just haven't gotten to my email yet. But we will try to get to the bottom of that. What I'm doing, use a baby wipe if you have it. I don't have one handy here, so I'm just spraying on a paper towel. And then I'm going to use that kind of as a blending tool. Baby wipe works better, but I don't have, they're downstairs in my studio. So I'm just going to rub over this to kind of blend this. And the thing I like about these crayons, and you can use a gelato, you can use any watercolor crayon you have. You can use a pastel, like a chalk pastel, and just smudge it with your fingers. I like this because it doesn't really disturb the watercolor underneath. I think because it's kind of slippery. And there we just have this nice subtle texture. I'm going to do that's a little wet. You know what? I'm just going to put a little bit up here for right now. I just don't want to mess up my flower there. So we'll do a little bit up here. I think I can do that without disturbing too much. There we go. And yeah, I'm just going to stick to those same 3 colors, I think. When in doubt, leave it out. I should follow that advice a little more often. I usually go like one step too far. Like, oh, that painting would have been better if I didn't, you know, do that. But yeah, that's me. I have a hard time. Self-control, apparently. Ooh, I love the Da Vinci paints too, Shelley. I haven't tried Daniel Smith, though. It's kind of like, man, I have so much paint and so much of it is just awesome. It's like, yeah, it comes to a point where it's like, okay, I'm just sticking with what I got. Mine's awesome, you know? Gosh, you know what? Actually, I lied. I think I want to add a little pink to that, too, because there's just so many pretty colors. See, this is the point where you're probably like, Lindsay, remember what you just said like 5 seconds ago? That you're not going to, you always overdo it, and you're overdoing it again. Again, I'm just going to spray. And blend. Great thing about mixed media, I mean, you can really rescue a painting if you go overboard. You can add some gesso if you've like really overdone something. You can like scrape some gesso over it, or just brush some on, or stamp some on, or something, and then you've got a kind of a blank space again. I wouldn't brush water over the stencil just because I think it would smoosh underneath and you would mess up your background a little bit. There we go. Let's lift that up and see what we got. This, the cool thing about this stencil, it's got a little bit of a sticky to it. This was at Michael's, and it came with a set of stamps. I can't remember the brand. I think it was like a Michael. I think it might have been Recollections. I think it might have been just their like house brand, or Art something, or maybe it was a Hero Art, like their cheaper line that they release. I'm not sure. I don't get to Michael's very often. I go when we go to the stamp show. Oh, I'll be teaching at the Heirloom Stamp Show in West Springfield, Massachusetts, June 3rd. The convention's on Friday, Saturday. I'll be teaching on Saturday, Sunday. I'll be teaching on that Friday. I think it's either the 3rd or the 2nd. But if anybody's in the area, I'd love to meet you. I'll be at the convention all weekend. So please say howdy if I see you. Oh, that's these are sparkle watercolor gel crayons that I'm putting through the stencil. You can use gelatos. They're very similar to gelatos, actually. I would almost consider them the exact same thing. They work exactly the same, like any of your metallic gelatos. And if you get the metallic gel sticks, they seem to be exactly the same as the metallic gelatos, and they're way cheaper. And a lot of times bookstores will have these products in their kids section. I just think that adds quite a bit of interest. I think it's kind of fun. And the next thing I want to do is add a little mulberry paper or some infused paper. I've had this for a long time. It used to be very popular, but you can still get it at art stores. And what I'm going to do is tear off some strips, and I've got a quick tip to share for this. And you probably know this if you've done scrapbooking or tear bears or anything like that. What you do is you paint a line of water where you want to tear it. And that just loosens the fiber and makes it really, really super easy to tear. Okay? And if it doesn't tear right away, just let it sit. 268 people watching. Oh my gosh, Sandy, thank you for telling me. Holy cow, guys. That's awesome. It's kind of good when I don't see it because I don't get nervous, I think. But then it's like, oh my gosh, it's so cool. Okay, I'm just going to make that a little edge there. I'm just going to kind of place these around before I glue them and see what I want to do here. Maybe, yeah, I think I kind of like that. Let's see, we can tear, I think we can tear it dry. When you tear it dry, you don't get the longer, fluffier, feathered edges, but, you know, whichever you want to do is fine. I think I want that a little pointier, so I'm just going to make my line. I just like how I can guide it by doing it this way. There we go. Man, you guys are so creative. I just keep peeking over there and seeing what you guys are talking about. You're awfully interesting. I think I'm going to make this one smaller. This is too big and heavy to be at the top of my painting. Trust your instincts, guys. When you're painting and you're like, something's not right about that, trust your instincts. Sometimes just go have a cup of tea or go pour a glass of wine or whatever, come back, take a look and be like, oh yeah, that's why that's not working. I can tell. It's just kind of, sometimes just takes a second. Now I'm going to glue this down. What I'm going to use to glue, I really love this. This is matte. It's the Ultra Matte Chalky Finish Mod Podge. And I got this a few months ago for a home decor project I was doing, and I just really liked it. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this out of the way. I'm going to use, this is just like a non-stick mat, and I like to use that for gluing on because I can just wipe it right up. And I'm just using like an acrylic painting brush. I don't use my watercolor brushes on the Mod Podge because I just don't want to risk ruining them. And Mod Podge is acrylic based, so it's the same as your acrylic paints. And then I'm just going to overlay it, and you can see some of the stenciling up through it, so it gives you a translucent layer, which I love because it automatically is going to match whatever you're doing. We'll do this one here. Oh my gosh, I haven't done a live show in 3 weeks. I was missing you guys so much, and I know we chit chat in the comments and stuff, but it's just not the same as hanging out with you guys live. So fun. There we go. I really like using a brush and Mod Podge to do this rather than just like, gluing from a bottle or whatever, just because I know I get a nice even coat and I'm not going to have wrinkles. And then I'm just going to, and all you have to do to clean this up is just spray your area where you put the glue and just wipe it. And you can use a piece of wax paper or plastic packaging or whatever you have. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to have this is actually not even like the expensive craft mat. This I got at this LTD commodities catalog, and it was like 2 for $8, and they're pretty big. They're actually oven liners. They work fine. I think it's like the same thing as the Ranger craft mat too. And then I wanted to add a little bit of stamping over here for texture. And I'm just going to use, you can actually paint watercolor on this, on the stamp, and stamp with it, or you can use watercolor markers, and I have a couple right here that I think I'll just use. Well, actually, you know what? I did this with the watercolor markers. Why don't I do this one with a paint, and then you can see the difference, and you can decide which effect you like the better. That probably makes a little bit more sense. So I think I'm actually going to use that watercolor, the acrylic brush I just had, because it's nice and flat. And I'm going to use, some burnt sienna. Just kind of try to use the flat of the brush to load it up kind of like that. And this is a French stamp, so I don't really have to worry about it like, being able to read it or anything. It's more just for like texture and interest than anything else. And I'm just gonna roll. This is on a rocking block. You'd press it straight down if you had a regular block, but I like these a lot. Oh, I like that. It's a lot more natural looking, I think. I'm just gonna move that over so I can get that up there. And that just gave me a little bit of texture. Paint a little bit more on for this. And I need a little more water for that. So, you'll get the feel. You can always do this on scrap paper first if you're not sure how much water, how much paint to put on. But you kind of need the consistency of, I would say probably like whole milk, kind of. You don't want it to bead up on the stamp. And you can take your time. You can clean this, whenever you have a second. You don't have to like rush to clean it. I'm not actually going to do that one. Move it over and do it twice just to get a little bit more texture. So I'll show you those two different media side by side so you can decide what you like better. So with the watercolor, you get a more spotty, natural look. Like it's kind of less bold. And with the markers, you get a more bold look. And of course, your watercolor paints, you know what they are. You know they're not going to fade. They're good quality. With the markers, you kind of take a chance that it might fade. So, just, use what you have, obviously, but you can make some good choices as to what you want. Jessica's wondering, do you have any tips for beginners at all? Yeah, paint. Just paint. Just get to it and have fun and experiment. And I will do Q&A at the end of the broadcast too. So stick around for that. And then I'll try to get through as many questions as I can. I'm just blasting this with a little water so that before I go into the colored pencil, I won't have any wet areas because that could damage the paper. Oh, and everybody else is giving tips to Jessica. I'm so happy, guys. That's awesome. Thank you. Rich says, and I really did need to buy every single distress in Memento ink, right? Hey, sounds good to me, Rich. I'll back you up in court. You totally needed it. I love the Memento inks. They're some of my favorites. The reason you don't want to do colored pencils, the regular colored pencils over wet paper, is that it's going to tear your paper up. So you just want to make sure you get that all dried up. And this is, this is just fine. If you want to leave it just as watercolors, that's totally fine. Okay. So I'm using Prismacolor colored pencils because that's what I happen to have up here today. And I like them for the most part, but it's very frustrating when they want to break on you, and that is probably the downside to this. Now, this color here is really vibrant. It's neon yellow, and I just thought it was really fun for grabbing the highlights on these flowers. So I'm just doing that along the edges. Now, one word of caution is that neon colors tend to be fugitive. So if they, they may fade a bit, but you still have a really strong underpainting of good permanent colors. So, keep it in mind, but don't let it, suck the fun out of life, okay? Some things are fugitive. That's the way it is. I try to, it's, it's like the cupcakes. You have a cupcake once in a while. It's not going to kill you. You use a fugitive color once in a while. It's not going to kill you. You can really bring in some, that overlay of color is so pretty. Add a little bit of that in my kind of onion skin area here. Look at the depth we get when we do that. I just love it. Oh my gosh, look at that pop. I love it. So pretty. A little bit of that nice deep yellow up there. I hope you guys try this. And you don't have to have expensive color pencils. Use whatever you have. Prang actually makes nice student grade, children's grade, but they are fantastic watercolors and colored pencils. So if like budget is an issue, or you're just a little nervous, you don't want to jump in because you're afraid maybe you won't use the supplies, and you try Prang. You can get them at like Staples or I think even Walmart, pretty much any office supply place, and they're just fantastic. And you're gonna get a lot of joy for very little money with that. See, this is chartreuse. I don't know what I did with my neon yellow. Oh, there it is. I'm like, oh my gosh, I just completely lost that. Got a little of this chartreuse in the hips of the flower where it's nice and bright green. Any of these bud areas, you can add some of the chartreuse. This really brightens things up. And the thing I really like about overlaying the colored pencils is that you don't have to make any rash decisions. You can let your painting sit and then go back and pick away at it a little bit. Also on these buds, I want to get a little bit of this lavender color. This is, that's actually called lavender from Prismacolor. Prismacolors are so soft that they're so creamy and they're wonderful to work with. But of course, with every benefit, there's always a downside. And the downside is that they tend to break when you sharpen them. So one thing I found that helps is heating them. If you have a problem pencil, is just if it doesn't have the gold writing, you can nuke it. I've actually nuked ones with the gold writing, but oh, hold on a second. We'll address that in a second. Because it remelts the lead and then you can use them again. I forgot to paint this area darker, but I'm not going to fret because I've got this darker color. I was going to go back in and add the darker color with the paints, but then I thought, you know what? I'm just going to do this. Someone's still tearing their paper. That's awesome. Getting their collage work in. There's no behind, guys. Nobody's behind. That's why these are recorded. You can go back and catch up when you need to. Not a problem. This color is Dahlia Purple. Many years ago, I invested in the entire set of the Prismacolor pencils. And I don't regret it. I've had to replace some colors just because I've used them up. I tend to use white, indigo, terracotta. Those are really my colors I'm always replacing. But you know, there are some quality control issues, I will tell you. They're made overseas now. Like most of mine say USA on them, so I don't have too many new ones. It takes a long time to use up a colored pencil unless they break a lot. And we'll add some accents up here. Oh, I had a little turned petal in here. I like that. I'm going to do that. I'm just going to add this little curvy line to turn the petal, and then I'm just going to shadow underneath it with this dahlia purple. And I also favor using a limited supply. So, you know, grab out the colors you're going to use. Don't have the whole box open in front of you. And just keep going back to the colors that you've selected. That way you don't end up with unharmonious colors. There we go. Add a little bit of purple here, enhance that color. And grab some of these pinks. So, I mean, there's nothing you can't fix with some colored pencil. Add a little more pink up here. And take your time. I'm working a little fast just because I don't want to keep you guys up too late. Whoops, and this is one of the problem pencils. I actually had a broken one. This one broke on me earlier. I'm going to see if I can shove it back in there and color it a little bit more. Frugal crafter, can't waste, 1/8 of an inch of pencil lead. There, get a little more color in there. And gee, I'm pretty happy with that. I do have a white here. I always love to add the sprinkles. I call the white the sprinkles in the cupcakes. You know, if I'm going to add color pencil, then I usually will go in and highlight with a little bit of white. Just anywhere I feel like it needs a little bit of pop. Or if you want like some expressive lines, or if you just want to blend out a color that's fairly light, you can use a white for that. There, just add a little white to that turned petal edge. All right, and I want some splashes, so I'm going to do it with my watercolor. I do want to show you here on this, I actually did my splashes with the ink that I used for my stamping because it seemed way too dark and way too bold compared to everything else. So by splashing on that ink, and I just scribbled it on my craft mat and added water and just flicked it with a brush. That helped tie those areas in. So that's why that's going to look a little different than this. But since I didn't do that, if I use that ink to splash on this, it would look really out of place. So I'm going to use the colors that I've been using. And I'm going to use, a nice juicy brush. Hopefully this way, if this isn't juicy enough, I'll just switch to the bigger one. Not a big deal. But I'm going to go in with any of the colors that I've already used is fair game. And the nice thing about having the colored pencil here and there is that it'll act as a resist. So, so that's really helpful. You can use any brand you want, Jessica. Any brand is fine. So I'm going to flick on some of that pink, the magenta that I've been using. I'm going to mix a little bit of that with some blue and flick on that with some purple. And again, if you don't like this, don't do it. You don't have to do it. There's no rule here. You do as much or as little as you want to your painting because it's your painting. And I think I want some different size spatters, so I'm going to go back in with that big brush that I wet the background with and flick on some, I'll do some yellow ochre just because that's such a benign color. Hopefully I'm not flicking my camera. I don't think I see any big splashes on my camera. And a little bit of sap because I really like sap green. All right, now any place where I don't want paint, I'm just going to go ahead and blot it up. All right, we're going to get into the live Q&A in a moment. Again, I want to thank our sponsor, jerrysartorama.com, for sponsoring this video and being so kind as to sponsor all of the live streams on the Frugal Crafter. I am actually going to move my camera so you can see my face. Please be kind. I have... it's late and I'm probably a little rough around the edges, but I am going to turn this around. I know you get to see my crazy studio. It's actually not even my studio. It's like my my office. Hello, friends. Here I am. All right. Okay, that's not too scary. Just a little bit scary. Hello, everyone. All right, so if you have questions, go ahead and type them in cap. Actually, just type them in. I think I can keep up with you guys. And I want to thank all of the moderators that came out tonight to help me. I really appreciate it. I've never done one of these by myself before, so really, really appreciate it. So I'm just going to kind of peek in there. Hi, Rich. Hi, Marisha. Oh, someone is saying no Crayola. I say use whatever you have, honestly. Don't let budget be a barrier for you not to be creating art. Um, let's see, because Jessica was asking about the best supplies to start with. I would say, the best you can afford, but Prang is excellent if you want a really inexpensive student grade brand to start with. Hi, everyone. Hi, Maria. Oh my gosh, I'm going to try to get everybody's name. I don't know if I can. Hi, Rose. Hi, Kathy. Hi, Jessica. Jessica's wondering, what is my favorite drawing YouTuber? There's a YouTuber called, it's Shoe Rainer Drawing, and it's just really, really fun. It's a great, great beginner channel to learn how to draw. What kind of flat brushes would I recommend? A couple. I like the Aqualon by Royal and Langnickel, and I also like the Mimic by the Jerry's Art Mimic brushes. Oh, thank you. Oh yeah, my hair, I braided it. I did like an Elsa braid because honestly, this might be really gross. I only wash my hair once a week because it's so long and it gets so dry. So like today I should have washed it, but I didn't have time to, so I just did an Elsa braid. Yes, Sandy, I am back down in my studio downstairs most of the time. I just moved down there this week, but it's a little chilly down there at night, so I thought I'd be comfy up here in my office. Can I tell you anything about my craftsy class? Yes, I can. I'll be having a giveaway probably the next week, and it will be launching later this month, so I'm super excited. The big brush I was using is a Mimic. This is great. This is the Mimic Creative Mark Squirrel. It's the number 30 round, and you can get it individually, or it's also included in the set, the affordable set that they have, so it's nice. I really like these. This is probably my favorite. I like a big juicy brush, and this works really well for me. What pencil are you using for the sketch? It's just like a number 2 mechanical pencil. Use whatever you have, honestly. And this one didn't smear. It's just a Bic. I'm really not fancy. Where can I buy Copics the cheapest? Well, Jerry's Artarema has a great price on it. You're probably not going to find it much less than that. Only one. Okay, cool. Jeannie only washes her hair once a week too, because I was feeling okay. Everyone's going to think I'm a weirdo. Yep, Prang pencils are great. And oh, Dramatic Parrot is great for drawing. I haven't seen any of hers. What watercolors do I recommend for beginners? If you can afford these, Turner, the basic set is $29. It's a great price. Da Vinci always had really big paintings that were inexpensive, and that was really nice. Really big tubes of paints if you need the larger tubes. Cotman is good for inexpensive. Do I know? But those are great. Copic substitutes, that's another question that just got asked. There are lots like Prismacolor and Spectrum Noir, and just search alcohol-based markers and you'll find tons. Pro markers are good. What brand of drawing is your favorite, and do you like Dale or Rowney? I have not used much by Dale or Rowney. They seem to be a good, affordable student grade line. Where's my shop? My shop is at, it's called the Schoolhouse Antiques Mall. I have a booth in that shop. It's on South Main Street in Brewer, Maine, if you are vacationing in vacation land here in Maine and you want to check it out. Thank you, Christy, congratulating me on the Craftsy gig. What's the best thing to start out with when you're a beginner with stamping, says 403 Downtown? I would say get some like watercolor pencils or whatever you like to color with, a black ink pad that's compatible with that, and some smooth cardstock, and some stamps you really like. It should be personal to you. Go with what you're inspired by. Can I use ink tense blocks to tint gouache? Yes, you can. Oh, okay. Someone washes their hair every other week. I do not feel so bad anymore. I have not checked into making my own pigmented paints. This is crazy. This is like the random, rapid fire questions. Are there any online art communities that I recommend? Yes, I recommend Paint My Photo. And I'm sure Wet Paint was a big community. I haven't been there in a while though. About.com has a really good art section too. If anybody else has any art communities they want to recommend, pop them in the chat because you probably know better than I do too. I love all the comments on how often everyone washes their hair. That's so awesome. DNR, Daler and Rowney student watercolors are as good as Winsor & Newton's. Thanks, Rich. We've got a testimonial there. Awesome. Let's see. My favorite paint, I like the Turners, but my favorite is actually M. Graham and Company, and they're available at Jerry's Artarema too. The reason I like the M. Graham is just because they stay moist in the palette a lot longer, and I've just been using them for so long. When to use regular watercolors versus Spectrum Noir watercolor markers. If I'm painting large, I prefer paints because they're just, you're going to be able to cover more area and you're not going to use so much up. The markers have a finite amount in the barrel, so you know, that's better for smaller things and working on cardstock or smoother, you know, smaller papers. Yes, I did buy some things in Denver and I'll do a haul video soon. Favorite cardstock for card making? I like Neenah brand cardstock, Neenah. Um, Best markers. There's so many good ones. I really can't pick a favorite marker. Um, what brand can I use? Jessica's asking what brand she should use for a shout out. Well, I've said your name several times, Jessica, so hopefully that suffices, but you have to be specific. I don't know what you're asking about. Yes, Cheap Joe's and Da Vinci are the same. They're made by the same company. They're sometimes companies private label paints for different outfits, and that's one of those instances. I like Core watercolors too. Diana Trout is in the house. Diane is an amazing artist. You have to check out her channel. She does some really fun mixed media stuff. Let's see. I'm just trying to catch up, guys. Oh, thank you, Sandy. She loves the haul videos. They're fun to do. It's so funny. I was just looking back through my my videos in my YouTube manager, and like my haul videos are like the most popular videos I do, which is crazy. I always think it's like, really? This is the Frugal Crafter. You guys want to see me shop, and I'm the Frugal Crafter. I think that's so weird. Yes, the golden acrylics are good too. The watercolors are really good, Rich, if you get a chance to try them out. Oh, bye, Run Flash Run 14. Thank you, Anita. Let's see. Yes, I went to Menninger's in Denver. Yes, I think her name is Melissa Mersenjith. I'm so sorry to butcher that, but yes, I went to the one in Denver. I got turned around. It took me like an hour to walk there from my hotel. Next time I'm taking a taxi or an Uber so I can actually like haul stuff back, but it was amazing. I only had like half an hour to shop, but I got a few things. It was totally awesome. I get my watercolor supplies from Jerry's. That's another question in there. Oh yeah, blank newsprint works really good for messy work. I have not had any issues from Arches. I didn't know they were bought by Canson. I might not have any new stock either, so my stock's probably pretty old, but I wouldn't imagine, Canson makes decent paper. I can't imagine there'd be a problem. Okay, more. Sorry guys, I'm just trying to catch up. Oh, Diane is thanking everyone who wants to check out her channel. You'll love it. It's wonderful. Star Sunshine Soldier says it's guilt-free shopping through you. That's why you guys like the hauls. Yes, Steve at the Mind of Watercolor is a wonderful, wonderful watercolorist. Great, great tutorials there. I have used Fabriano. That is excellent paper as well. Debbie Jordan's asking, anyone tried Michael out? Is that a brand of paint? I'm not sure. If you want to clarify, we'll see. Some of us can help. Somebody can help here. If not me, I'm sure somebody else. I mean, as in I like to paint or draw. Coloring brands. Gosh, there's a lot of really good brands. I'm really partial to Derwent. Oh, Barbara would like me to come to San Diego to do some classes. Oh, she could have a room full. That would be fun. I've never been to San Diego. I've never really been much in California, other than airport, really. Strathmore 400 series is good. Let's see. Oh, the pastel course will start next week. I'm sorry to delay it a week. This week was kind of crazy, so I have my first project planned, and it will be next week. Yes, you can use a regular baking mat, Alina, instead of buying the Ranger one. That's what I have here on my mat. The silicone ones are good. These Teflon ones are good. Christmas Tree Shop has a good price on them too if you're looking for some cheap ones. Affordable heavy body acrylics. Let's see. I usually use a Liquitex, but it's not really that cheap. If anybody can recommend a good heavy body acrylic that's affordable, please pop it in the chat. I would really love to hear what you guys have to say on that. Beth is asking, is cold press or hot press better? It depends on what you're doing. For rubber stamping, I prefer hot press because it's smooth. For like landscape painting, I like rough or cold press because I like the texture. So hopefully that helps. Oh, somebody would like me to go to Curtis, Ontario, Canada. I have not been to Canada since the late 90s, so I definitely need to get a passport to now because you can't just go to Canada, even though it's like right across the border. Oh, great, Kelly. You subscribed to Owen's Art. He's awesome. Shelly says Owen's art cost her a lot of money. Yeah, I can attest to that. He does, doesn't he? Yes, John, my webcam was on the selfie stick the entire time until I picked it up and I stuck it on my little monitor computer. I just I kind of set it in there. You probably can't see the selfie stick from here, but I just set it in there so it is right side up and shows my whole table. Oh, Ian would like a gouache paint class. I would like to do something like that. I don't have really good quality gouache, but hey, you know, I think you should just paint what you want. What is the clock there now? It's 4 at night here. I always miss your direct video. Love your personality. Thank you so much. It is about 9:30 here. Thank you guys all for answering each other's questions. Diane wants to go on vacation to Brewer, Maine. Well, if you do, give me a ring. Well, I'll take you shopping. Oh, somebody says Tuesday mornings has the mats for $10, the craft mats. I wish we had one up here. We don't have one up here. Allie wants to know how I set my camera up. If you go onto Instagram, I just posted a picture before I went live, and you should be able to see how that's all set up. Thanks, Rich. He says System 3 heavy bodies are good for the price, and I do believe that's a Daler Rowney product. The best, cheapest pencils for blending 403 downtown, I would say, would be the Prangs. They're really high quality and very inexpensive. Haley wants to know what watercolors I use. I use I'm using the Turners tonight. I also use M. Graham. I use tons. There's lots of wonderful brands. Nikki B was wondering if I use, how do you use the brown watercolor paper tape? What you do is you wet your paper, and then you lay it down on a wooden board, and then you wet the tape and you stick it down on all 4 sides and you let everything dry before you paint on it. I do have a video on that. Just search how to stretch watercolor paper on my channel and you'll find it. Can you see the painting on the wall above the sunset? Okay, that's weird. I painted this quite a while ago. It's just some pears. There we go. Can you see that? It's an oil painting. Brianna, flying was fantastic. I haven't been on a plane in a long time, and it was absolutely fine. What is the best System Ready wants to know, what's the best to start selling my paintings? I recommend just trying to find maybe a coffee shop or someplace where people go that will let you hang them up. And that's the best thing to do, because get it in front of eyeballs and maybe someone will buy, or post it on your social media if you have Facebook or Twitter. Any place you can you got to get your work in front of a lot of eyeballs, and you'll be surprised. You'll find it'll float someone's boat, and you'll get a message on it. But just don't be discouraged. It takes a while, but you can't sell anything unless you put it out there for sale. We got a recommendation for Jane Blundell's blog. Has a really great recommendation, comparison for watercolors. So that's great to check out. Sandy says, "Oh, no pears." I have a feeling Sandy is one of Cinnamon Cooney's students if she's upset about pears. Let's see. Jeannie says, "Did you see Pikes Peak?" In Maine? No, I haven't. Okay, we've got Layla is leaving. I'm going to take a few more questions because I probably ought to wrap this up as well. It's been a little over an hour. I'm so glad you guys hung out for the Q&A and painted with me tonight. It was so much fun. Shelly says painting with oil is like painting with mayonnaise. It's so funny. Keep posting the same ones 7, 8 times, and then people start to love it. Yeah, you just got to keep the frequency when you're trying to sell your work. Just keep putting it up there so people will. But it takes people 7 or 8 times to even notice they've seen something. At least in advertising, my background's radio, and that's what they said. People have to hear an ad 7 times before they even remember it. Thank you, Barbara. That's a very sweet comment. I appreciate that. Pikes Peak in Colorado. No, I wasn't there very long. I flew in Tuesday night, and I had rehearsal Wednesday, filming Thursday, Friday, and then I flew home Saturday. So, I mean, other than just kind of, hot footing it around downtown and seeing what I can see, I really didn't have much to sightsee, unfortunately. My favorite paint color, I think it's sap green, or maybe yellow ochre, or perhaps magenta. I like all those. Oh, Rich Bowden's channel is a spin doctor. I'll have to check it out. I haven't seen that. What alcohol markers do you suggest on a limited budget? That's a great question, Maria. Honestly, I would say like Prismacolor or Pro Marker, if you can find them for a good price. I think Jerry's has them about $2 a marker, somewhere between 2 and 3. Get your lighter colors, buy the light ones, and then get a package of like 36 Bic markets, and then use those together because they play nice together. They're all the same type of marker. They're all alcohol based. So you can get a lot of bang for your buck by getting some really light colored, like Pro Markers, Prismacolors, even Copics if you think that's a route you want to go down. And then get the, big pack of like the Sharpies or the Bic markets, and you can do so much with those. Gatali wonders, have you ever remembered that you had to do something more important, but uh, did painting instead? Oh, that's like, my house is clean right now, which is like shocking because usually I'm distracted by painting when I should be cleaning and I should be doing all sorts of other things, but I don't really think cleaning is more important, I guess. Oh, thank you thank you for the condolences. I appreciate that. Um, Watercolor markers versus watercolor pencils. My preference, Shay, would be pencils. You're going to get a lot more bang for your buck. They're going to last longer. They won't dry out. You don't have to worry about the tips fraying. Because you can use your watercolor brushes. Pencils are usually the best bet. Oh, yep. Rich is saying you've got a great deal on Letraset. They're now branded under Winsor and Newton, and their price has gone up too. So if you get a good price on those, that's great. All right, I'm gonna take a couple more questions and then I'm gonna wrap it up. And yes, the replay will be available as soon as the broadcast is done, so you can watch as many times as you want. Quick tip though, if you wait a little while to watch it, the quality improves because like right after it's done, it processes it at the lower qualities first and then moves up. Smokey wants to know if we can paint every Friday night. That would be fun. I usually watch Grimm right around this time, but I have Hulu, so I can catch it later. I haven't tried the Mission Gold, but Emily says it's wonderful. So for whoever was asking about them, they're good. The Grumbacher paints, there's many different levels of Grumbacher paints. They're deluxe. I don't care for. They feel like a very student grade paint. Their Academy are like Cotman, about the same level. And then they have the, I think it's Grumbacher Finest watercolors, which are good. They also have like the pre-tested oils, which are excellent. But just make sure you know what quality you're buying, because that's the thing with a lot of these paint companies is they do like a children's level, a student level, a professional level, sometimes even other levels in between. You just need to make sure you get what you're paying for. Oh yes, thank you for coming by, Tundra. I'm glad that you enjoyed the late night live stream. Bye-bye, Maria. Thank you so much. Amanda watches Grimm too. Yeah, I love, like I usually watch Grimm, iZombie, and Elementary, well, like right when it comes out. It's like, I don't know, I like to watch it when everybody else is watching it, but I'm like, you know what, I got time. I miss you guys. I really wanted to do this tonight. Thank you, Trisha. Let's see. I think beginners should draw whatever they like drawing. If you like fruit, draw fruit. If you like people, draw people. Nothing's harder than anything else to draw. You just got to draw what you're passionate about. Oh gosh, I got a lot of votes for Friday night painting. That's so sweet. This is fun. I really enjoy it. Oh, Linda, I'd love to meet you too. Maine is beautiful. It's a wonderful place to come and vacation. Okay, I'm gonna take one more question. Which is better, koi or Cotman? I would say Cotman. It's more transparent. Koi is not bad, but Cotman I just find is a little bit more transparent. Again, I want to thank you all for joining me tonight for this live stream. I'm thrilled with how many people could make it on such short notice. It was so much fun. Please feel free to watch the replay, share it with your friends. Please drop a thumbs up on this video before you go. And if you want, leave a comment after the broadcast is over. I'd love to see who showed up if I didn't get a chance to see you on the screen. This was so much fun. I really enjoyed it. Thank you again so much. Thanks to jerrysartorama.com for sponsoring, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Now you get to watch me awkwardly try to figure out how to stop this stream live. It's so awkward. So